Hello, my name is Alex, a PPL graduate in 2014 from BFC 193. In this video, I'll be guiding you through the conduct of some pre-flight procedures and checks. Every flight really begins some way before the engine even starts, and the purpose of pre-flight preparations, procedures and checks is to ensure that the conditions like the weather and equipment like your aircraft are suitable and acceptable for your flight.
Along the way, I will be sharing useful information and tips to help you deepen your understanding of why things are done in a prescribed manner and how to go about getting the pre-flight procedures and checks done properly and safely.
Preparation is the key to success. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Where I am right now is the SYFC operations room. Here, you will find details about which aircraft you are flying,
Which instructor you will be flying with, and all information pertinent to your flight. The ops room is also where you will be signing in and out for your flights. It is really your information center, and apart from flight information, you can also get weather information and forecasts, current airfield states, and NOTAMs.
You should arrive and report to your instructor for a pre-flight briefing well before your flight. Always give yourself as much time as you can afford so that you have ample time to obtain the information that you need and carry out the pre-flight duties. Never rush, as this often leads to mistakes being made.
Once you're done with the pre-flight briefing with your instructor, you should be preparing to walk out for flight.
Now, if you've been cleared to do external checks on your own, which should happen after your first flight, then you'll be heading out now to get your external checks done first before your instructor joins you. Now, let's walk out to get external checks done.
The aircraft are parked at the aircraft shed, which is in the airside. The airsides of the airports are restricted areas and require security clearance to enter. Before you walk out, be sure that you have the necessary security documents like an airside pass or the security slip with your SYFC membership card. Also, remember to bring along all required flight gear, like a headset and a life vest. You may also bring your flight reference card or FRC along. Your FRC contains all aircraft checks and you should always ensure you have the latest version. The moment you step out of the gate, you are in the aircraft movement area. Be sure to close and latch the gate, then walk in the shortest possible line towards the edge of the shed, then along it behind the aircraft to where your aircraft is parked. Be aware of any aircraft movement and operations as you head for your aircraft.
As you approach the aircraft, carry out your initial checks as according to the FRC. In SYFC, checks are carried out according to memory, just like in the Air Force.
In general, when we say external checks, it includes the initial checks like the approaching aircraft and cockpit safety checks. The external checks on the Diamond DA-40 are carried out in an anti-clockwise manner around the aircraft. Going about the checks in the correct sequence is important as it ensures things are done in a proper order, and it is also often organized in a logical flow to help a pilot remember them better.
An aircraft is made up of many parts, and these parts are put together in a precise manner. When moving the control surfaces of the aircraft, you must never use excessive force or slam them against their stops. Always hold the more robust parts of the control surface when you test them. Never hold onto the fixed tab to move the control surface, as doing so may shift it and put the aircraft out of trim. Also, be careful with the more fragile parts of the aircraft. For example, you shouldn't tug on static wicks or put your weight on the pitot static probe when checking them.
You will see that in many of the items in the external checks, you are asked to check the condition of the item. What this means is that you should look for any signs of abnormalities or damage. Examples would be cracks, dents, tears, nicks, leaks, bending, warping, or any signs of abnormality in form or positioning of the item.
Remember that when you do your checks, you are really checking to ensure that the aircraft is safe and suitable for flight. so do be meticulous and give it your undivided attention. With that in mind, let's begin.
As you approach the aircraft, check the general condition of the surrounding. Be aware of operating aircraft and ensure no fuel leak, oil leak, or spillage under your aircraft. We start off with the initial checks. As we approach the aircraft, check that the wheel chocks are in position and a ground fire extinguisher is available. As you walk in front of the left wing leading edge, remove the covers from the pitot static probe and the stall warning. Check the step condition. Next, we conduct cockpit safety checks. Check that the front canopy and rear door are clean, undamaged, and that the key slot is in the vertical position.
Next, we open the canopy. Pull out the lever and lift up the canopy slowly like this. Climbing into the cockpit may be a new experience for you as this is your first flight. So here's how you do it. Start off with your left leg on the step. Place your left hand in the slot above the dashboard. Pull yourself up. Place your right foot on the anti-slip walkway on the wing. Now to enter the cockpit, place your left foot in first, followed by your right foot. Sit down comfortably. So remember the sequence left, right when entering the cockpit.
Once in the cockpit, check that the AFM and GCRG are available and secure any loose articles. Ensure that the onboard fire extinguisher and axe are in good condition and properly secured. As a demonstration, here is how you remove the axe during an emergency. You do not need to remove it when conducting the checks, just make sure that it's physically there. Your seat height can be adjusted with the cushions provided. As a rule of thumb, when seated with the canopy closed, you should just be able to fit your fist between the top of your head and the canopy. Try and remember this view as shown, and be consistent with your choice to fly with or without cushions for your subsequent flights. Connect to your headset. Be mindful of selecting the appropriate slots. Adjust your rudder pedals to the correct position. As a guide, you should be able to apply full left and right rudder and apply brakes effectively. Adjusting rudder pedals too near or too far may result in discomfort while flying or lead to incidents while taxiing. Gently and fully deflect the controls and ensure that they are moving freely and in the correct direction. Note the hops counter reading. This reading registers the number of hours that the aircraft engine has been in service and is used to determine your flying hours at the end of the flight. Ensure that the elevator trim can be moved fully forward and backward, and set it to take-off position. Select fuel selector to the lesser tank. Engage parking brake and pump the foot brakes situated at the top of the rudder pedals. Remember to always depress the brake pedals whenever you engage your parking brake. Ensure that all electrical equipment is switched off before vacating the aircraft.
You are required to drain fuel when you are planned to fly the first wave, or immediately after rain, or immediately after refueling.
Retrieve the fuel drainer from the cockpit. Attach the nozzle in the upright position and drain fuel from the fuel drain points located under each wing near the main landing gear and the gasculator located underneath the fuselage. Drain the fuel into the drainer to 1/3 of the total volume from each drain points, and after each point, hold it at eye level against a clear background. Check that it is light blue in color and void of any contaminants or water sinking to the bottom of the fuel drainer. Inform your instructor should you observe any contaminants or water. Also, ensure that the fuel drain holes do not leak after draining fuel into the drainer. After draining the fuel, pour away the collected fuel into the containers provided for waste fuel. Stow the fuel drainers back at its original place.
Next, we move on to external checks. As mentioned before, we will move in an anti-clockwise direction, starting from the left wing root, and check for any damage, cracks, or delamination, which might suggest material fatigue. As always, if you're unsure of any observations, sound off to your instructor.
Start with the left main landing gear. Visually inspect the left gear strut for any abnormalities. Check the condition of tyre and wheel. Ensure proper tyre inflation and examine creep mark. The creep mark is located at the side of the tyre. As a result of landing friction, the tyre may slowly creep and rotate around the wheel hub, and the creep mark will slowly misalign with time. If the creep mark is misaligned beyond half the creep mark width, a tyre replacement would be required. Sound it off to the ground crew or instructor should that happen. Also, check that the inflation tube is not bent and that there are no new flat spots on the tyre. Reported flat spots are recorded on a separate piece of paper and made available in the tech log. Not recorded flat spots observed must be highlighted to your instructor and ground crew. Visually inspect the brake assembly and ensure that there is no leakage. Proceed onto the left wing. Check that the air intakes on the lower surface is clear of any foreign objects. Check the condition of the upper and lower wing surface as well as the inboard stall strip. The stall warning device provides an audible horn as a feedback to the pilot of an impending stall. Test the stall warning using the suction device located in the map storage compartment on the right side of the cockpit. Squeeze the suction device and fit it to the opening snugly and release. You should hear the warning horn sound, which indicates equipment serviceability. Unlatch the fuel tank filler cap and turn the filler cap anti-clockwise to open. Slowly lift the cap to prevent fuel spillage in case the tank is full. Check that the contents are as annotated in the tech log. A full fuel tank with 20 gallons would fill up close to the brim, while a tank with 15 gallons would appear flush towards the wing root. Gently latch back the cap to prevent spillage and ensure that the latch on the filler cap is flush to the wing's surface. Locate the fuel vent underneath the wing surface and check that there are no leaks.
Next, we move on to the pitot static probe. Check that the 3 holes are not blocked. This is another vital piece of aircraft component not to be overlooked. When in the air, it measures your airspeed, vertical rate of climb and descent, as well as your altitude. Any blockage of the main 2 holes shall render the ASI, VSI, and altimeter unserviceable.
Check the condition of the outboard stall strip, landing and taxi lights, wingtip, and the position and strobe lights. As a safety precaution, do not touch the position and strobe lights as it might still be hot from the previous flight. Check the condition of the tie-down point and the 2 static discharge wicks. You will find a total of 7 discharge wicks and 1 metal discharge point next to the trim actuator on the aircraft. Discharge wicks are located as follows: 2 on each wing and 3 on the empennage. All static discharge wicks must be present before flight. The trailing edge of the wing houses the aileron and the flap. Check the condition of aileron, linkage, hinges, tab, and pedal. Go below the wings and visually inspect the components in detail. Gently move the control surfaces up and down fully and ensure that they are moving freely in the correct direction. You should see the control stick coming towards you as you move the aileron upwards. Likewise for the elevator. Be careful where you place your fingers to avoid finger trapping. Check the condition of flap, linkage, hinges, pin, and torque tube. Do not manually move or apply force to the flap, as it is electrically controlled.
Once done with the flap, we move on to the left side of the fuselage. The first thing that you will visually check will be the condition of the lower rear antenna, namely VHF2, and the marker. Next, we check the aircon condenser outlet is clear. Aircon vents may or may not be attached to this outlet. Either way, both conditions are acceptable for flight. Next, we check the condition of the rear cabin door and window. We also ensure that it is closed and latched. Check the baggage compartment as required.
Ensure that the baggage, if any, is secured. Moving on, we check the condition of VHF-1 antenna. Next, we walk towards the empennage. Check the condition of the fuselage skin. Ensure that there are no cuts, dents, or wrinkling, which is an obvious sign of material stress. Moving on to the tail section of the aircraft, examine the condition of the vertical and horizontal stabilizers, and check the condition of the 3 static discharge wicks and metal discharge point. Check the condition of the elevator, hinges, and trim tab. Ensure that all 4 locking wires and split pin are secured. Gently move the elevator and ensure full and free movement. Check the surface condition of the rudder and the condition of the linkages and trim tab. Check the condition of the trim actuator on the left side and the trim dampener on the right side. Ensure no foreign objects are in the opening as you inspect the linkages. Gently move the rudder left and right and ensure there is no restriction. Inspect the tail skid, tie-down point and lower fin. Check their condition and ensure that the tail skid is not damaged from the previous flight. As a precaution, do not touch the tail skid as you may injure your fingers in the process. Next, we move on to the right side of the fuselage. Similar to the left, check the condition of the fuselage skin, window, and the right canopy.
We are on the starboard side of the aircraft. The checks on the right wing is almost identical to that of the left, but the sequence is in reverse order. Ensure that the same level of vigilance is accorded to the checks on the right wing. Don't be complacent and rush through the checks just because you have done it on the left side.
In a similar manner, we check the flap, aileron, and the 2 static discharge wicks, wingtip, position and strobe light, tie-down point, outboard stall strip, fuel tank filler cap, fuel vents, inboard stall strip, and the upper and lower wing surface. Check the condition of the step, the grounding point, and the OAT sensor. The grounding cable and the drip tray shall be removed by the ground crew. Next, we move on to the right main landing gear. In a similar manner to the left landing gear, check the condition of the landing gear strut, creep mark, and proper tire inflation. Check the condition of the brake assembly and ensure no leaks.
Next, we check the front fuselage. There are many components to check, so let's go through them one by one in sequence. First, we check the oil level. Open the panel by turning the wing Zeus fastener. Exercise caution, the cap may still be hot. Request assistance from the ground crew if you need. Check the oil marking on the dipstick. Ensure that the oil marking is between 6 to 8 quarts. Should the oil require a top-up, request the ground crew to do so. Once done, screw back the oil filler cap and secure the panel as illustrated. Gently tap on the side of the panel to ensure that it is properly secured.
The external power receptacle is located on the side of the cowling. There is no need for you to open the panel. Just gently tap the sides of the panel to ensure that the Zeus fasteners are properly secured. Check the condition of the cowling and ensure that it is secured with no visible abnormalities. Check that the right cabin air inlet is clear of any foreign objects, and check the condition of the exhaust. Check the 3 air intakes and ensure that they are clear of any foreign objects. Be sure to check the smaller holes of each intake in detail. Check the condition of the propeller and ensure that there are no nicks or dents on the surface. Flying an aircraft with even a minor propeller damage can aggravate cracks and potentially cause failure in the air. Ensure that all 12 attachment screws are secured to the spinner.
A word of caution about propellers. Never lean on or turn the propellers, as it may start the engine inadvertently and cause injury. In SYFC, we do not even touch the propellers when we are checking it. Be sure to also stay outside this red box painted on the floor. It serves as a propeller clearance demarcation for us when we are close to the propeller.
Check the condition of the nose landing gear strut, tyre and wheel, creep marks and inflation. Ensure that the inflation tube is not bent. Check the left cabin air inlet and the venting pipes are clear of foreign objects, and that there are no leaks from the gasculator. Check the condition of the underside of the fuselage, and check that there are no excessive contamination by oil, fuel, or any other fluids. The transponder and DME is located under the fuselage. Check its condition. And finally, check that the air condenser inlet is clear.
Do a final check and ensure that the ground cable and drip tray have been removed by the ground crew and placed within the demarcated area near the pillar. Also, ensure that the stall warning cover, pitot cover, fuel drainer, and suction device are properly stowed in the mat storage compartment.
As you stand on the wing before entering the cockpit, check the condition of the GPS-1 and GPS-2 antennae located on the top of the aircraft. You are done with the external checks.
After ensuring that all the checks are in order, we are now good to go. Let's strap in. Have a final check on the rear door and ensure that it's closed and latched. Climb into the cockpit. Adjust your safety harness. Put on your headset. Adjust the mouthpiece and the headband to your comfort level. You have now successfully completed your external checks and are ready for your flight. This video should be used as a tool in preparation for your external checks clearance by your instructor. It will also aid you in memorizing your checks by following a chronological order while executing it. Clarify any doubts with either the alumni or your instructor, and they will certainly help. All the best in your flying journey here at SYFC. Until next time.